Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you're here because today we are going to be ranking my top 10 attractions at Magic Kingdom. I recently got back from a trip to Walt Disney World. We were there in May of this year and we had so much fun. It was such a good time. I vlogged the whole trip, and if you missed out on those vlogs, be sure to check them out on my channel. I'll leave them linked down below for you. Last year I did a whole ranking series here on the channel, but I wanted to do an updated list because things have changed at the parks. New rides have come out. I've gone on new rides, so my rankings have shifted around a bit and I'm just so excited to go through my list with you. Starting at number 10, I have Carousel of Progress. I love Carousel of Progress, and it is one of the things that I really like to continue doing and going on and experiencing when I go to Magic Kingdom, because it's something that Walt Disney was actually involved in making, and I just love that about it. It's a lovely place to sit down and get an air conditioning break because you're basically in this giant rotating theater and you go like scene by scene through basically the history of progress. Obviously because it's Carousel of Progress. So it takes you through the time from, I think it starts in I think it's the early 1900s and then takes you all the way to like the present. It does kind of need some updating for like the present, I feel like, because a lot of it is kind of dated now and I think we're like past that point of where it ends at on the ride. But it's just so endearing, and I love the narration, and I love the little dog and the song. I love the song. Usually when I'm coming off that ride, I have the song stuck in my head for the rest of the day. Number 9. Jungle Cruise. This one has come down on my list a little bit since going on my last trip. Not to say like it's a bad ride or anything like that, but like to me it really is dependent on the skipper that you get, and I suppose your sense of humor as well. I am not a big fan of like slapstick humor or the puns and all that, so a lot of the time I don't find it like super funny, so maybe that's just me. But I do like it in the fact that, you know, you're going around and they're like really trying to make it as if it's like a real experience and there's real animals and everything. And it takes a lot of creativity to do that. Trust me, I could never do a skipper's job. Absolutely not. But what I find hard, and I think this is something that happened on our last trip, was I had a really hard time understanding them. Sometimes it's really hard to hear over the speaker, depending on where you're sitting on the boat. You might be near the motor and it's just really noisy and it's hard to understand what they're saying. So that I struggled with a little bit. I wouldn't wait a long time in line for this. If it is like 30 minutes, maybe max is what I would wait. And I'm not even sure. I mean, if I had the multi-pass, the new, which used to be Genie Plus, but it's now multi-pass, I would probably get on it, you know, if it was available and it was a good time and the time wasn't too far away. But I probably wouldn't go out of my way to go on this ride. And if I didn't go on it when I was at Magic Kingdom, I wouldn't necessarily be upset about it. Number 8. PhilharMagic. This experience is probably one of my favorite things to do now when I go to Magic Kingdom. When I think Magic Kingdom, I'm like, yes, PhilharMagic is on the must-do list for me. I love that it is it incorporates a lot of the classic Disney movies from when I was a kid. They've also put in some of the newer Disney movies, which I love, and they did it really well. Like, it's not like overtaking it. It doesn't really take away from what was already there. And it's a very like 4D experience, which I really love, with like the smells and the 3D and the music and everything. And I find myself singing along all the time. It makes me so happy. And it's another great way to get off your feet, sit in some AC for a while. You know, you have a little laugh at all of Donald's antics. And I also love Sorcerer Mickey, and I feel like he's not in enough stuff at the park, so this is definitely a good one. Number 7, People Mover. This attraction I feel like has definitely been gaining popularity in recent years. It used to, well, I mean, it typically has relatively low waits, and again, another great way to get off your feet. Most of it, I think all of it, is actually out of the sun as well. It's all covered, so it's a great attraction to do if it's raining. I'm not sure if they close it though when there's a thunderstorm or like when there's lightning in the area, so keep that in mind. But yeah, if it's raining, you know, you can go on this ride. It's like partly outdoors, partly indoors, and you get to see like a whole overview of Tomorrowland, which I love. You also get some really, really great views of the castle. You could get some great pictures. You have to be quick though, because the ride moves at a relatively quick pace. It's not too fast, but you know, it's relaxing. You get the breeze and the wind in your hair, and you get to see all the people walking around below you, and then there's like narration going on, and it's just lovely, and it's a very nostalgic ride for me as well. Number 6, Space Mountain. I have a love-hate relationship with this coaster, but the reason I have it higher up on my list is because it's such a good ride and it's so quintessential Magic Kingdom to me. Usually the waits aren't too bad, but a lot of the time I wouldn't want to wait more than like maybe 45 minutes. It is a worthwhile wait. The queue for this ride is also great because they have like little games and stuff that you can play while you're waiting, so it's not like you're going to be bored if there is a long wait. If you are someone like me though who gets really scared on roller coasters, definitely sit at the front because you can almost kind of make out the track in front of you, so you will kind of see where you're going, but once you start going really, really fast, it's really hard to see, and I always come off that ride with just tears streaming down my face. Number 5, Tron Light Cycle Run. I wanted to love this ride. I wanted to be able to go on it and want to go on it again and again. The problem is that it is a very intense roller coaster for me. I know thrill seekers out there are probably like, no, it's so tame, Jen. Like, what are you talking about? But for me, as someone who gets very anxious to go on roller coasters in general, this one was really fast. And I think for me, it's the ride vehicles, because you're basically sitting on a motorcycle. And I ride motorcycles. Like, I used to own one. But for me, I think it's the issue of not being in control. I think if it went like in a straight line and not in the dark, I'd be fine. But the fact that it goes so fast and then it goes inside and you can't really see where you're going, and because you don't have like any protection around you, you're literally just on the motorcycle getting like whipped around at like over 100 kilometers an hour. It's a little terrifying. Although I don't know if it's over 100 kilometers per hour, but it's pretty friggin' fast. My favorite thing about Tron is the theming. I loved this ride queue. I love listening to the music, the anticipation that it builds while you're waiting in line to get there, and you're like following a story. It is just, oh my gosh, it meets the expectations that I had of the ride in every way. If you haven't seen the Tron Legacy movie, I highly, highly, highly recommend watching it, especially if you are a fan of Daft Punk and their music. They did the whole album, they did the soundtrack. I just wish on the ride that I could hear the music a bit more. I'm really hoping that I can ride it again at some point, get up the courage to go on it, because I'd really like it to be higher on my list because I love the movie so much. Number 4, Big Thunder Mountain. It's the wildest ride in the wilderness. Let me tell you, that is a fact. The wait times on this ride I find can get a little long, but if it's like an hour wait time, I'd say it's worth it just because of the length of the ride. It's not like Tron where it's only like, Tron is only like a minute, less than a minute. I think it's like about a minute. Whereas Big Thunder Mountain, you're actually on there for quite some time, which I really like. And you're on the ride and you're like going around, and then you're thinking like, oh, this must be over. And it's like, oh no, it's not over. It just keeps going. It's scary too, because of the way it drops you and all the corners you go around. And it's just such a fun time. The only thing I don't really like about this ride though, is how loud it can get. Sometimes when you're going up the hill where things are like gonna explode and stuff, it can get really loud for my tiny sensitive ears, which I don't really like. Number 3, Haunted Mansion. This experience, attraction, whatever you want to call it, it's so quintessential Magic Kingdom for me. If I don't go on this ride when I'm at Magic Kingdom, I'm a little disappointed. A lot of the time it goes down because things might not be working, obviously, and it's just so disappointing because it's something that I always have to ride when I'm there. It brings me so much joy. I love the song. The queue as well, like where you're waiting in line, can be really cool. Some parts of it are in the sun though, so it can get kind of hot. But if you don't have multi-pass, in the line they have like stuff you can play with. There's like books popping out and like interactive things that you can play with. I just love that. And then I love when you finally get into the house and all these shows, like they do the shows with like the painting stretching in the stretching room, which is really cool. and it's just, I can't get enough of it. It's so good. And then when you get into your Doom buggy, you're just riding around the mansion, seeing all the things, and it's also really nice and cool in there usually. So that's also another nice thing that I like about this ride, is you get out of the heat. They've recently also put in the Hatbox Ghost. Finally, it's so cool to see that. The only thing I find though is like you have to see the Hatbox Ghost at like the right moment, because I think when we rode, we went by him and then we didn't see his face like transition to the lantern he was holding. So if anyone's like going through, they won't like see the significance of what the Hatbox Ghost does. So that was kind of annoying in that sense, because when we rode it and Alex was with me, he didn't even know what the Hatbox Ghost was, didn't know what he did, and his face didn't change, didn't move, and he's just like, oh, I don't see what the big significance of it was. The visual effects here are amazing, and I love the storytelling, and again, the song, I love it so much, and I am always singing it for the rest of the day after I get off this ride. Coming in at number 2, Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates is something that I could ride again and again and never get sick of it. It is such a cool, immersive ride. You're sitting on a boat and you're going through this all these different scenes of pirates and stuff. And I just love the fact that this ride inspired to make the movie Pirates of the Caribbean. And from the movie, I love how they incorporated Jack Sparrow into the ride. I know a lot of people didn't necessarily like that because it took away from like the classic ride, which I totally understand. But I do like how he's in there. I think they did it really, really well. And the end scene where they have Jack Sparrow sitting on the chair, surrounded by his gold and everything, I'm always having to do a double take because it just looks so much like Johnny Depp. I hope they never change this ride. I hope they never get rid of it. I just love it so much, and it is always a must-do for me. And coming in at number 1, Happily Ever After. This fireworks show is perfection to me. Never change. I love it so much. I think it beats pretty much all the fireworks shows that I've seen at Walt Disney World. The music and the songs and the narration by Tom Kane is perfect. He sounds a lot like Jeremy Irons to me. So that brings me back kind of to nostalgic vibes of like The Lion King. It is just so hard to hold back tears. It just hits you with all the feels, and I love it so much. I'm so happy that they brought it back, because when I saw Enchantment, I was like, this is not it. The other shows like Wishes was great and that, but this one is just, it's perfect. I can't see anything that I would want to change about it. And let's say I didn't have a chance to go to the Magic Kingdom Park on my trip, I would make a point to try and go watch the fireworks at, say, the Polynesian or something, and have the, with the music piped in and that, just so I could see the show, because it is just so perfect in my eyes. And that's it. That is my top 10 list of attractions at Magic Kingdom. What do you guys think? Do you agree, disagree? Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite ride is at Magic Kingdom. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on my next ranking video, which is going to be Epcot. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.